My husband is cold and distant, but he has 2 children on the side. When Emily found me, she was already 6 months pregnant. She stroked her belly with a happy expression and said, "I hope you can help me convince his wife. After all, the one who isn't loved is the mistress, right?" She only knew that I was an excellent breakup consultant, specializing in helping others stay away from third parties. But she didn't know that the wife she was talking about was me. Seeing the kiss marks on the girl's neck, I felt a pang of bitterness in my heart and my lips twitched involuntarily. A day later, I assured her that his wife would disappear completely. After sending Emily off, I felt a bit upset and took a taxi to the law firm. After hearing my request, the lawyer seemed hesitant, furrowing his brows and looking at me with a skeptical expression. "Mrs. Johnson, are you really sure you want to divorce? Your relationship has always been good, hasn't it?" Sigh. "I'm not trying to pry, Mrs. Johnson, but couples inevitably have their disagreements. There's no need to rush into divorce over something like this. Everyone has seen how well Mr. Johnson has treated you over the years." I gave a self-deprecating smile and pulled out the intimate photos Emily had sent me of her and Lucas. Before seeing this photo, I had thought the same way. After seeing the photo, the lawyer's eyes flickered with sympathy. He didn't try to persuade me anymore, just sighed and began drafting the divorce agreement. After receiving the agreement, I bought a ticket for tomorrow's flight abroad and went straight to Lucas's company. The March breeze was warm and gentle, but there was no warmth in my heart. What made me feel cold were the 2 figures intertwined inside the office. Through the glass door, Lucas was holding Emily, gently stroking her. The agreement fell to the ground with a thud. Through the door, they were completely immersed in their own world, oblivious to the commotion at the entrance. My hands trembled uncontrollably, and tears blurred my vision, reminding me of our wedding night. At that time, Lucas held my hand and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Sophia. I'm naturally more reserved and may not be able to give you the experience you desire. But don't worry, I'll make it up to you in other ways." I had always believed those words. But seeing his obsession with Emily today, I finally realized that marriage is nothing but an illusion built on lies. Unable to withstand close scrutiny, faint moans and a low male voice drifted through the door crack, their words clear. "Lucas, back then I told you to marry any woman you wanted, and staying chaste was just a joke. I never thought you'd actually do it." Lucas paused for a moment, then chuckled, playfully pinching Emily's waist and leaning his lips close to her ear. "So how do you plan to reward me? Don't rush, be careful, the child is nearby." Emily blushed and buried her face in his chest. "Lucas, after the baby is born, can you divorce that woman and marry me?" Lucas remained silent for a moment, then pinched her lightly, increasing the pressure. "Focus." Her voice grew louder, making me blush. I couldn't bear it anymore and turned to flee hurriedly. The happiness I once thought I had was just a casual joke between him and someone else. No wonder Lucas's friends always looked down on me when they saw me, never giving me a proper glance. "Lucas, can't you really resist?" I looked toward the office and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Then, though my heart ached a little, I handed the signed divorce agreement to the front desk and asked her to pass it to Lucas. Just as I took the agreement out of my bag, a familiar voice rang in my ear. Lucas casually wrapped his arms around my waist from behind and rubbed his face against mine. "Dear Sophia, you're here to bring your husband his medicine again. Why didn't you just go up?" As he spoke, he reached out to take the file folder from my hands. I turned my head away, dodged Lucas's hand, quickly hid the folder behind my back, and handed it to the receptionist. The front desk clerk took the folder, covered her mouth, and laughed. "Mr. Johnson, this is a surprise your wife prepared for you. You can't look at it yet." At that moment, I looked in the direction Lucas had come from and saw Emily standing not far away. When she saw me, her eyes first showed surprise, then jealousy. Lucas noticed my gaze and quickly stood in front of me, too busy to look at what the front desk clerk was doing. "Why isn't there any medicine today?" Over the years, to help him with his sexual dysfunction, I've consulted many doctors and prepared various Chinese and Western medicines for him every day. But every time I handed him the medicine, he would dismissively knock it over and insult me with demeaning words. I just gave a cold smile. "I'm really tired. I won't force you to take the medicine anymore." Lucas stopped in his tracks, furrowed his brows, and wanted to ask more questions, but glancing at Emily behind him, he swallowed his words and called Tom to take me home. "If you're tired, rest first. Sophia, go home first." I'll come back after finishing work. I didn't object and let Lucas push me into the car. As he turned the corner, he hurriedly embraced Emily. Just past two intersections, the sudden brake made my head slam into the window. At that moment, Emily had somehow appeared beside the car. Hey, you career counselors also help people deliver divorce agreements? She deliberately lifted her stomach, revealing fresh and old kiss marks on her chest, indicating the intensity of the recent encounter. I silently looked at her. What concerned me more than the kiss marks was the red string around her ankle. Because this was something I had obtained for Lucas's health, enduring hardships and traveling alone to the Tibetan region, kneeling countless times to obtain it. The simple red string had moved Lucas to tears, and he swore to keep it safe for the rest of his life. But now, it was casually tied around Emily's ankle. Seeing that I didn't speak, she pulled me out of the car. Sophia, you were peeking at the office door for so long earlier. You must know something, right? You've had it really tough these years, living like a widow. You have no idea how strong Lucas is. Every time I had to beg him to stop before he would let go. By the way, do you know why he wanted you to change your name to Sophia? He was right. You're really not much. If I were you, I'd have left this place long ago. Emily's words echoed in my ears. I remember when Lucas said he had someone calculate it, and they said my name wasn't good for him. At his suggestion, I changed the Sophia part of my name. I felt my whole body tremble, my legs gave way, and I stepped back, leaning against the car door to steady myself. Emily looked at me with a mocking expression and kicked my knee with her foot. What, did you just now realize you're not that great after all? Let me tell you. Sophia, it's not just your name. Lucas and the entire Johnson family are mine and my children's. We're moving into the Johnson house soon, and Lucas and I have already planned everything at your resting place. She laughed triumphantly, her eyes filled with contempt. Sister-in-law, I'll drive you back later. Don't let the kids get too tired. After her laughter subsided, Tom beside me finally spoke. Emily wiped away the tears she had laughed out, pushed my hand away, and ran into the car. I stared blankly at the receding taillights, curling the corners of my mouth in self-mockery. I almost forgot. The people around Lucas have always looked down on me, even his secretary. No matter how hard I tried to please them. Treating myself like a maid, I couldn't earn a single smile. It seems they've already decided Emily's place in their hearts. If that's the case, there's no point in me trying to please them anymore. Lucas, I don't want you either. I took a deep breath, rubbed my sore knees, and decided not to go home to pack my things. After all, everything I had over the years was prepared by Lucas for me. Now that I was leaving, there was nothing worth taking with me. Thinking about this, I unconsciously quickened my pace and walked in the opposite direction from home. After walking for a short while, I suddenly heard a car horn behind me. Lucas got out of the car, saw me limping, and immediately ran over to hug me, his face filled with concern. Sophia, what are you doing here? Does your leg hurt again? Just bear with it a little longer, I'll take you home right away. He didn't wait for me to refuse. Picked me up and gently placed me in the car, his voice filled with apology. It's my fault today. I should have driven you home myself. Tom didn't take good care of you. I'll deduct his wages when I get back. I had planned to work a little longer to finish up some company matters before going abroad for treatment. Don't worry. This time I found the most renowned specialist. He'll definitely cure my illness. Once we return, we can have a cute child together, and our little family will be complete. Hearing his confident promises, I felt a pang of irony in my heart. Is that really the case? I've heard this excuse 3 times before. The first 2 times were when Emily was pregnant, and he said he needed to go abroad for treatment, only to stay away for a year. This time might be the same. The first time he told me, I thought he had finally come to his senses, and I felt so excited that I wanted to pack my bags and go with him right away. But now I just replied softly, "Okay, be careful." After returning home, Lucas insisted on calling a doctor to examine my leg injury. As soon as he laid me on the sofa, the 2 children suddenly ran out from the inner room, chattering excitedly for their father. Lucas froze for a moment, without waiting for me to ask. He picked the children off his lap and hurriedly explained, "I forgot to tell you, they're the children I adopted. I saw you were so bored all day, so I thought having the children keep you company would be nice. Regardless of whether we have our own children in the future, can we treat them as our own?" Sophia, seeing him so anxious, I couldn't help but find it a bit amusing. He always presents his thoughts as if he's considering my feelings. I wonder if he ever considered asking me if it was okay to bring these two children home when he was chatting so enthusiastically with Emily. I suppressed my questions and rubbed my forehead tiredly. Fortunately, I could leave here for good as soon as it got light. At Lucas's urging, the doctor arrived quickly. He examined me carefully, prescribed some medication, and told me some things to watch out for. Lucas stood by, repeatedly asking the doctor about my condition, then carefully recording the doctor's instructions on his phone. After the doctor left, he mysteriously took out a document from the study and handed it to me. It was a signed property transfer document, transferring 90% of his assets to me. Sophia, you've endured so much hardship following me all these years. This is the only compensation I can offer you. I suddenly recalled that every time he mentioned going to see a doctor in the past, he would have me sign such an agreement and give me a large sum of money to ensure my future livelihood. It seemed as though this could somehow atone for his guilt. If it had been before, I would have been so moved that I wouldn't know what to do, refusing to sign, only to be persuaded by him to sign while holding my hand. But now, I smiled lightly, took the pen, and signed my name without hesitation. I have a gift for you. It's at the front desk. Don't forget to pick it up. Lucas's eyes flickered with confusion. He felt something was off. I ignored the bewilderment on his face and stumbled into the room. I'm tired and want to sleep. Once the sun rises again, I can finally say goodbye to this place. My flight is at 8 in the morning, so I got up early. As soon as I stepped out of the bedroom, I saw Lucas busy with housework. Perhaps because he hadn't slept all night, he had cleaned the house spotlessly. Seeing me awake, he immediately stopped what he was doing and brought me breakfast. Why did you get up so early? Sophia, come eat. After we finish, we'll go to the office together to see the surprise you prepared. Seeing the 2 large and 2 small bowls and chopsticks he had prepared, the scene from yesterday's office flashed through my mind. I couldn't help but feel nauseous, covering my mouth and starting to vomit. Lucas rushed over to me. Sophia, what's wrong? Do you feel unwell? Seeing how concerned he was, I couldn't tell if he was just being polite or genuinely asking me. Lucas had spilled hot porridge on his arm, causing blisters, but he seemed unaware, still worried about me. Yet just moments ago, he was still thinking about how to deceive me. I pulled my hand away from his tight grip and said in a flat tone, I'm fine. Lucas sighed in relief, about to say something, when the door suddenly knocked. He looked impatient, about to get up to open the door, when Emily walked in. The 2 children opened the door and excitedly surrounded her, calling her Mom. She tilted her chin, smiled smugly, and gently rubbed their heads. I'm really sorry for disturbing you this morning. I just missed the children so much that I came to bring them breakfast. Lucas frowned, a hint of panic flashing across his face. He stood in front of Emily, looking uneasy, unable to meet my gaze. Sophia, don't misunderstand. When the children were at the orphanage, Emily often visited them, so hearing his unreasonable explanation, I found it quite amusing. Lucas swallowed awkwardly, his unease lingering on his face. After a moment, he cautiously said, Sophia, you go ahead and eat. I have to catch a flight, so I can't stay with you. I'll try to come back as soon as possible and not keep you waiting too long. I looked at what Emily had put in his outer pocket earlier and couldn't help but smile. I nodded without saying anything. His flight was clearly in the evening, but it didn't seem that important anymore. Just as he stepped out the door, Lucas suddenly felt an inexplicable panic. He instinctively turned back and grabbed my hand. Sophia, I'll definitely succeed this time. Wait for me to come back. I smiled gently and didn't respond. No matter the outcome, it had nothing to do with me anymore. After they left, I left the agreement I signed with Emily on the dining table. After gathering my documents, I stepped out the door. I remembered when we first moved here, it was just as empty as it was now. Though the appliances were all there wasn't a single trace of warmth. Back then, Lucas held me in his arms, placed the house keys in my hand, and told me seriously that from now on, I was the mistress of this house. When he said that, his face turned bright red, like a shy teenager confessing his feelings to the girl he loved. I had once naively believed that my arrival would turn this house into a real home. Salty tears trickled down the corners of my mouth, bringing me back to reality. I wiped away the tears, hesitated no longer, and called a taxi to the airport. Lucas, I don't plan to wait for you anymore. Shortly after the car pulled away, Lucas felt increasingly uneasy. He was a bit irritable, tugging at his tie. feeling that something was going to happen today. As he thought about this, he found himself turning toward the company. Weren't we supposed to go to the amusement park? Why are we back at the company? Emily suddenly turned her head toward the window, feeling a bit anxious. She covered her stomach and pouted, complaining. Lucas, what are you doing? You scared me and the baby. Weren't we supposed to go try on wedding dresses today? Where are we going? Lucas was annoyed by the noise. Rubbing his temples and trying to stay calm, he whispered, Sweetheart, I just need to pick something up at the office. After saying that, he stepped on the gas pedal and sped toward the office. He just wanted to tell her that the surprise was important. He had to see it immediately, or it would be too late. Emily had so much more to say, but when she thought about how the so-called surprise was actually a divorce agreement, she smiled softly and didn't stop him. Less than 20 minutes later, they arrived at the company. Lucas hurried into the company and asked the front desk for his surprise. He held a light file folder in his hands, feeling a sudden sense of unease. He quickly tore open the folder, and what he saw inside left him completely speechless. A divorce agreement lay quietly in his hands. He flipped to the last page. It was already signed. Lucas couldn't process it for a moment. He took a few steps back and examined the divorce agreement in his hands. Mrs. Lucas asked me to tell you that this was specially prepared for you. You must accept it. Mr. Johnson, it's truly enviable how much you and your wife care for each other. After 6 years of marriage, you're still thinking of preparing a surprise for each other. The front desk didn't notice Lucas's pale expression and continued speaking. Lucas loved his wife, everyone knew that. In the past, when people praised their marital harmony in front of Lucas, he would always respond happily. But today, hearing those words made him feel extremely uncomfortable. It felt like a mockery of him. How could this be? Lucas muttered to himself, unable to believe the divorce agreement in his hands. He couldn't believe that she was really going to divorce him. Just as he was about to dial my number, a familiar fragrance wafted from behind him. Lucas, did you get the documents? Emily put on an innocent expression and walked up behind Lucas, gently placing her hand on his shoulder. Lucas instinctively slapped her hand away and said, I'll go out. After saying that, he pulled Emily into a corner. Emily was unhappy inside, but dared not show it. Lucas had mentioned before that, if news of their divorce were to be exposed, it would definitely have an impact on the company's stock. So over the years, even though they had 3 children, on the surface, she was just his secretary. Emily, I might not be able to accompany you to try on wedding dresses today. There's been a problem with Sophia. Go rest there first tonight, and I'll come find you after I finish handling things. After saying that, he ignored Emily's objections and turned to leave. Emily looked displeased, pacing anxiously behind him, but she couldn't keep up with Lucas's pace. Lucas practically ran to the car, stepped on the gas, and sped home. Lucas hurriedly opened the door and saw the living room in complete disarray, messed up by the 2 children. He frowned in frustration, his unease growing stronger. Sophia must be starting again, Lucas muttered to himself. He knew she liked things neat and hated even a speck of dust, so he had cleaned the entire room before leaving. He never expected that after just a few hours, the room would be in such a state. Sophia, come out. Are you still angry about this morning? I didn't consider your feelings. I'm not going today. However, the only response he received was silence. Lucas felt on the verge of breaking down. He dialed several times, but all he heard was the cold, mechanical voice of an automated system. He angrily threw his jacket on the ground, and the item Emily had placed in his pocket earlier fell out. The usually composed Lucas now had a grim expression on his face. A terrifying thought began to spread through his mind. Did Emily see it when she put the item in my pocket? Lucas suddenly understood why she had looked at him so coldly and sarcastically when he left that morning. His heart ached, and he felt a wave of tension wash over him. When did she find out about him and Emily? Was it this morning or yesterday? Or maybe even earlier? Lucas didn't dare think about it anymore. He bent down, picked up the item at his feet and threw it into the trash can. He wished he had never seen it. The door behind him opened, and Lucas's eyes lit up instantly. He turned around eagerly, about to say, Sophia, you're back, but the words died on his lips. It was the nanny returning with the children. The 2 children ran toward him excitedly. Daddy, where's Mom? Mom's not here, Lucas answered instinctively, but immediately realized they were actually asking about Emily. He froze for a moment, feeling for the first time that these 2 children were a bit annoying. Lucas even began to doubt why he had listened to Emily and brought these two children into his home. Have you seen the lady? He snapped out of his thoughts and asked the nanny in a low voice. She left shortly after you left this morning. Oh, she also left this for you? The nanny hurried over and handed Lucas the documents on the dining table. Lucas looked at the contract and froze. The panic he had been suppressing for so long suddenly becoming overwhelming. He had never paid much attention to his work and didn't understand the significance of this document. Now he had no idea why his wife had left it for him. However, when he saw Emily's name at the end, he immediately understood. So Emily had come to see me? What did she tell her? Thinking of all the possibilities, Lucas's face turned pale. Lucas, tall and imposing, swayed slightly. He had tried to convince himself it was just a momentary outburst of anger, and he would come back once he calmed down. But now, he felt a deep sense of helplessness enveloping him. After all these years of deception, he had finally decided to end all the lies once Emily gave birth to the child. He never expected me to suddenly uncover the truth. Lucas had always believed that even if I ever found out the truth, I wouldn't leave him, because he knew how much I loved him. He never expected me to be so decisive. At that moment, Lucas's phone received a message. Mr. Johnson, the surveillance footage you requested of your wife from yesterday afternoon until this morning is ready. Without hesitation, Lucas immediately opened the surveillance footage. He carefully reviewed everything from the surveillance footage in my office yesterday to the dashcam footage of Tom driving me home. As he watched, his expression grew increasingly grim. Lucas's clenched fists began to tremble slightly. At that moment, Emily entered the room holding her stomach. Lucas, I'm pregnant with your child? How could you abandon me like this? Emily, her face filled with anger, punched Lucas in the chest. Every time she acted like this before, Lucas would smile, hold her fist, and pull her into his arms to comfort her gently. But this time, seeing the woman before him, he felt nothing but disgust. Lucas quickly dodged Emily's touch and coldly stared at her, asking, "What did you say to Sophia?" Seeing his expression, Emily felt a bit panicked, but she forced herself to answer angrily. "I don't even know her. What could I have said to her?" "Lucas, I think you should have broken up with that woman long ago. She probably doesn't think much of you. And she's probably already with another man now." Lucas laughed angrily after hearing this, walked up to her, and grabbed her chin. "Is that so?" Emily felt the pain but couldn't say a word in response. "Then tell me what this is." Lucas handed her the surveillance screen, almost grinding his teeth as he spoke. At that moment, the look in his eyes was no longer gentle. The surveillance footage clearly showed her kicking him. Emily looked extremely panicked, her face turning pale. "Lucas, listen to me, it was because. Oh, do you know? Sophia has an old injury on her knee. I wouldn't even dare to touch it, and you dared to kick her with your foot. You're so bold." After saying that, Lucas kicked Emily's knee, knocking her to the ground. He remembered 3 years ago when he returned from the Tibetan region. Her knee was swollen so badly she couldn't even stand up. Despite that, I smiled and placed the red string I had begged for into his hand. That was the first time he had felt any affection for me. Lucas couldn't help but think that, although this marriage was a bit absurd, it didn't seem so bad after all. From then on, he decided to take this marriage seriously and treat his wife well. Unfortunately, by that time, Emily was already pregnant. Although Lucas refused her proposal, he still decided to fulfill his role as a father to the best of his ability. 3 years had passed, and he seemed to have grown accustomed to life between me and Emily. It wasn't until now that he felt regret for the first time. Emily fell heavily to the ground, clutching her stomach in pain. She looked at Lucas, who was losing his mind, and scrambled backward with her hands and feet. Blood flowed from between her legs, leaving her too pained to speak. "Lucas, don't do this. I'm scared. My stomach hurts so much. The baby?" Lucas didn't respond to her pleas for help. He only glanced at her before turning away and heading toward the door. "My assistant just sent me my flight information. He's worried that if we wait any longer, we'll miss it." As he reached the door, he saw Tom standing by the car. Tom no longer had the smug expression he had earlier. As soon as he saw Lucas, he rushed over and begged for mercy. His phone had fallen to the ground, displaying a termination notice. Tom had always believed he hadn't done anything wrong, but the message on his phone told him he was wrong. If he couldn't secure the other party's forgiveness, he might never find work in this industry again. Lucas glanced at him disdainfully, a mocking smile curling his lips. "Want me to give you another chance?" All right, if you can crawl from here to the company, I'll consider it. He said this and didn't look back, driving away, ignoring Emily's agonized screams inside the villa. He didn't stop. At that moment, I had already set off for abroad. Before boarding the plane, I bought dozens of tickets to various destinations around the world, ensuring I could disappear completely from Lucas's life. As the plane took off, I felt an unprecedented sense of relaxation amidst the turbulence. Previously, every time I traveled, it was to run around taking care of his emotions. To spare his pride, I traveled around the world, visited doctors, and brought back treatments for him. When Lucas first claimed he was accompanying Emily to give birth for medical reasons, I knew he was lying. Before the wedding, rumors circulated that Lucas from the Johnson Group had a first love. He pursued her for a full decade before suddenly announcing his intention to marry. At the wedding, everyone assumed I was the first love, but I knew I wasn't. Now that his first love is back, I should leave. I spent 2 days traveling through airports before finally arriving at my destination. After securing a place to stay, I had someone sell the shares Lucas had transferred to me at a low price to his competitors. The money was enough for me to live a very comfortable life. On the day I received the money, I saw Lucas again. I didn't expect him to come, just as he didn't expect to find me. We locked eyes, and surprise flashed in both of our eyes. When I realized what was happening, I turned away, pretending not to recognize him, and stopped looking at him. Lucas took a step forward, blocking my path. "Sophia, I'm sorry." I stopped in my tracks, smiled lightly at him, and said, "Sorry, you must have mistaken me for someone else." Lucas tried to explain, but when he saw the passport in my hand, he fell silent. The name on the passport was Sophia, not Sophia. "I'm sorry." Lucas's expression grew somber. After a moment, he only managed to say, "I'm sorry." I smiled casually and didn't bother with the person behind me, walking quickly forward. "Sophia? Does your leg still hurt?" When he heard that name, Lucas froze. In fact, the person whose name it belonged to was with him every day, but he had forgotten how long it had been since he last called her by that name. "Is there anything else you need from me?" I turned around and looked at him, smiling as I interrupted him before he could finish. "If it's just an apology, then it's fine. It's been a long time." Lucas froze, unable to say anything else besides "I'm sorry." Before coming here, he had thought of many things he wanted to tell me. He wanted to express that he wasn't uninterested in the relationship. He hoped I would go back with him and continue being Mrs. Johnson and have a child of our own together. When he saw me, he only said, "I'm sorry." Lucas grabbed my hand, and the sunlight on his face made him look particularly lonely. If we hadn't started based on a lie, things might be different now, right? His voice was hoarse, barely audible by the end, but I heard every word clearly. I suddenly found it amusing. "Lucas, if I hadn't discovered this, would you really be able to cut all ties with Emily after the child is born?" Lucas gripped my hand tightly, then suddenly let go. After a moment of silence, he forced a smile and said, "I wish you happiness." After speaking, he almost ran away. We both knew the answer was impossible. Over the past 6 years, he had clung to our relationship, grown accustomed to lying, and accustomed to making promises to us. He had promised Emily he would marry her, but in reality, he would never let her walk down the aisle in a wedding dress in front of everyone. Just as he had repeatedly promised me he would be loyal to me, yet continued to entangled with Emily for all these years. Making promises is easy, but keeping them is hard. In the days that followed, Lucas always followed me from a distance, watching me. I didn't bring up the matter, and he didn't come to disturb me either. We maintained this unspoken understanding until one day, Lucas suddenly disappeared. On that day, I received a large sum of money. The last time I saw Lucas was in a social news report back home. He had caused Emily to lose her fetus and stopped providing financial support for her and her mother. The helpless Emily decided to sue him in court. Lucas, who had once been famous for his devotion to his wife, instantly became the object of everyone's hatred. It seemed as though he had known everything all along. Facing the cameras, he kept repeating, "Sophia, I'm sorry," when the reporter asked who Sophia was. He refused to say anything. The day before the trial, I returned to the country and obtained the divorce certificate with Lucas. He looked even more exhausted than he had in the news. When he saw me, tears welled up in his eyes, and he managed a faint smile. The next day, I watched Lucas put on his prison uniform and face trial. My heart was calm, as if I were watching a stranger. I didn't stay to hear Lucas's verdict, as it no longer mattered to me. I used the money from selling my shares to move to another city and start a new life. My previous life revolved around Lucas, but from now on, I only want to live for myself.